Hello and welcome. Today we're back with more notable names in Jewish American history. Today we start out with probably the most notable name. He's almost like a worldwide Jewish hero, but uh, he would end his time as an American. His life would be in America at the end. So, anyway, Albert Einstein. He is one of the most influential scientists of the 20th century and was a physicist who developed the theory of relativity. He was a German mathematician and physicist who developed the special and general theories of relativity. You might also know him for E equals mc squared. 1921 won the Nobel Prize for Physics for his explanation of the photoelectric effect, and the following decade he immigrated to the United States after being targeted by the German Nazi Party. His work also had a major impact on the development of atomic energy. In his later years, Einstein focused on the unified field theory and would pass away in April of 1955 at 76 years of age. He is probably one of the most influential scientists in all history. Born March 14th, 1879, died April 18th, 1955. He was born in Ulm, Württemberg, Germany, and had two wives. First was Mileva Einstein Marek, 1903 to 1919, and then Elsa Einstein, 1919 to 1936, and he would have three children. He grew up in a secular Jewish family, so even though he was ethnically Jewish, he didn't really follow the faith. His father, Hermann Einstein, was a salesman and engineer who with his brother, founded Metrotechnische Fabrik Einstein an See, a Munich-based company that mass-produced electrical equipment. Einstein's mother, the former Pauline Koch, ran the family household. Einstein had one sister, Maja, born 2 years after he was. He attended elementary school at the Luitpold Gymnasium in Munich, but would feel alienated there and struggled with the institution's rigid pedagogical style. Side note, that's something that a lot of educators say is part of the problem too. We try to teach too much in one direction, one style. The truth is, there are believed so many styles of learning, and it kind of hurts us to only teach in one form. But anyway, he also had what were considered speech challenges, but would develop a passion for classical music and playing the violin. He also, in his youth, was marked by deep inquisitiveness and inquiry. By the end of the 1880s, Max Talmud, a Polish medical student who sometimes dined with the Einstein family, became an informal tutor to the young Albert. Um, Talmud had introduced his pupil to the children's science texts that inspired Einstein to dream about the nature of light. Thus, during his teens, he would pen what would be his first major paper, the investigation of the state of ether in magnetic fields. Hermann Einstein relocated the family to Milan, Italy in the mid 1890s after his business lost out on a major contract, and Einstein was left at a relative's boarding house in Munich to complete his schooling at the Luitpold. Faced with the military duty when he turned of age, Einstein allegedly withdrew from classes, using a doctor's note to excuse himself, and claimed nervous exhaustion, with their son rejoining them in Italy. His parents understood Einstein's perspective, but were concerned about his future prospects as a school dropout and draft dodger. He was eventually able to gain admission into the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, specifically due to his superb mathematics and physics scores on the entrance exam. He was still required to complete his pre-university education first, and and thus attended a high school in Aarau, Switzerland, helmed by Jost Wienerler. Einstein lived with the schoolmaster's family and fell in love with Wienerler's daughter Marie. Einstein later renounced his German citizenship and would become a Swiss citizen at the beginning of the 1900s. But yeah, there's a lot they talk about. One of the more famous things is when he was a patent clerk. It would be steady work for him in 1902. After he was referred to the Swiss Patent Office for a clerk position. 1905, he published 4 papers in the Annalen der Physik, one of the best known physics journals of the era. 2 of them focused on the photoelectric effect and Brownian motion. The other 2, which outlined E equals mc squared and the special theory of relativity, were defining for Einstein's career and the course of the study of physics. So yeah, 1905, he was born when again? 1879, so 26-year-old. He would have many discoveries as a physicist, but perhaps best known for the equation in his theory of relativity, E equals mc squared, which foreshadowed the development of the atomic power and the atomic bomb. Yeah. Isaac Newton was a huge genius. Einstein kind of took the next step forward. These are the kind of minds you need to know as far as development of our knowledge. If you know anybody in science, know Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, these people. Um, 1921, he would win the Nobel Prize for physics, in physics, for his explanation of the photoelectric effect. And wasn't actually given the reward until the following year due to bureaucratic ruling. But and even though that happened, he still used the time of his acceptance speech to speak out about the theory of relativity, because even though he won the prize for photoelectric effect, his ideas on relativity were considered too questionable. He would marry Mileva Marik while he was at school in Zurich. She was a Serbian physics student. 1902, Einstein's father would pass away and they would marry shortly after. They would have the 3 children. The marriage would not be a happy one, with the 2 divorcing in 1919, and Marik having an emotional breakdown in connection to the split. Einstein, as part of the settlement, agreed to give Marik any funds he might receive from possibly winning the Nobel Prize in the future, which there is supposed to be a cash prize, a cash dividend given to the winner of the Nobel Prize. During his marriage with Marik, Einstein had an affair sometime earlier with a cousin, which she's more likely a distant cousin. I doubt it was like direct first cousin, though it could be. We don't know. The couple wed in 1919, the same year that Einstein would divorce his first wife. He would actually see other women during his second marriage. Although that would end following Lowenthal's death in 1936. In his 40s, he would talk about his experiences traveling and everything. In 1933, he took on a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, where he would spend the rest of his life. At the time, the Nazis, led by Adolf Hitler, were gaining prominence with the violent propaganda and vitriol in an impoverished post-World War I Germany. The party influenced other scientists to label Einstein's work Jewish physics. So because he was Jewish, whether he was right or wrong, they attacked him, say, this is just, Jewish physics. That's not real physics. Yeah. 1939, Einstein and Leo Szilard wrote to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR, to alert him of the possibility of a Nazi bomb and to galvanize the United States to create its own nuclear weapons. So, yeah, U.S. wasn't even in the war, but he's warning them, please be aware this is a likelihood. And FDR took it seriously, initiating the Manhattan Project, though Einstein wouldn't take a direct part in its implementation due to his pacifist and socialist affiliations. Einstein was also the recipient of much scrutiny and major distrust from J. Edgar Hoover, head of the FBI. In July 1940, the U.S. Army Intelligence Office denied Einstein a security clearance to participate in the project, meaning J. Robert Oppenheimer and the scientists working in Los Alamos were forbidden from consulting with him, even though he was considered one of the forefathers of atomic energy, atomic knowledge of atomic potential. He would have no knowledge of the plan to drop the atomic bombs on Japan. When he heard of the first bombing at Hiroshima, he reportedly said, "Ah, the world is not ready for it." He would become a major force in trying to limit the usage of the atomic bomb. Einstein, during an essay for the Atlantic Monthly, Einstein espoused working with the United Nations to maintain nuclear weapons as a deterrent to conflict. Not necessarily as a weapon of direct war, but look, we've got the weapon here. It's a reason no one should go to war. We should talk things out. Which that was the way it was for a long time. Even during the Cold War, it was, no, there shouldn't be a push to use the atomic bomb. In the late 1940s, he would become a member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, seeing the parallels between the treatment of Jews in Germany and black people in the United States. He corresponded with scholar and activist W.E.B. Du Bois, as well as performer Paul Robeson, and campaigned for civil rights, calling racism a disease in his 1946 Lincoln University speech. Seems like for some reason intelligence also brings a level of morality. Many of your more moral people were highly intelligent. One of the most recognizable photos from the 20th century shows Einstein sticking his tongue out while leaving his 72nd birthday party on March the 14th, 1951. Yeah, this is a well-known photo. You can usually find it online quite a bit. Um, Einstein was amused by the picture and ordered several prints to give to his friends. He also signed a copy that sold for $125,000 at a 2017 auction. He would pass away April 18th, 1955, at the age of 76 at the University Medical Center at Princeton. The previous day, while working on a speech to honor Israel's 7th anniversary, Einstein suffered an abdominal aortic aneurysm. Yeah, Einstein, he was very integral to try to get Israel, the Jewish people, a new home, Israel. He didn't want the conflicts that would arise from it. But yeah, he fought very much to try to get them a home. According to the BBC, Einstein muttered a few words in German at the moment of his death. However, the nurse on duty didn't speak German, so their translation was lost forever. But yeah. I did have. I did a series reading a book on Einstein, more of his thoughts and um, I can't remember what it was exactly called. Ideas and opinions, I think it was something like that. It wasn't like his biography or anything. It was just more his thoughts on some of his papers or some of the letters he would receive and stuff. And I think that's what it was. Albert Einstein, Ideas and Opinions. So yeah. But that all that information was from biography.com. Let's see what else we can pull up here. We have Britannica. The entries written by the great Michio Kaku. But yeah, he was born Jewish in Germany, moved a little south to Switzerland to try to escape persecution. Um, well, for his father and everything, they all moved south because it was for jobs and stuff. But anyway, he would be left in Switzerland and develop a bit of a life there. And by the time the Nazis were coming to power, he ended up finally going to America and staying to escape the torture, the horrors of the Holocaust and everything. So, but yeah, the miracle year, 1905, when he wrote so many of his papers. Über einen die Erjungung und Verwandlung des Lichtes betreffenden juristischen Gleichgangspunkt. I probably butchered that because I do not speak German, but anyway, it's essentially a heuristic viewpoint concerning the production and transformation of light. Einstein applies the quantum theory to light in order to explain the photoelectric effect. If light occurs in small packets later, which would be called photons, then it should knock out electrons in a metal in a precise way. So yeah, really his imagination and everything working together to kind of let him see how the microscopic particles would work on a microscopic level. Second paper, on the movement of small particles suspended in stationary liquids required by the molecular kinetic theory of heat, which in it he offers the first experimental proof of the existence of atoms. There was already supposition by other thinkers, but it was really with his paper here. It's like, look, this is actual proof shown through experimental work that they should exist. By analyzing the motion of tiny particles suspended in still water, called Brownian motion, he could calculate the size of the jostling atoms and Avogadro's number. On the electrodynamics of moving bodies, which he laid out the mathematical theory of special relativity. And finally, we have does the inertia of a body depend upon its energy content? Which he submitted almost as an afterthought, but it would show that the relativity theory led to the equation, the famous equation, E equals mc squared, which provided the first mechanism to explain the energy source of the sun and other stars. If you've ever wondered what E equals mc squared is, it's a actual simplified form of the actual formula, but it means energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. That's literally what each symbol means. But there is a much longer formula, but this is kind of the shortened version that everybody knows. E equals mc squared. But, yeah. At first, his 1905 papers were ignored by the physics community, but it would change after he received the attention of just one physicist, perhaps the most influential physicist of his generation, Max Planck, a founder of the founder of quantum theory. ideas that it matters what's also happening on a subatomic level, on that microscopic level. Because no one was really thinking about how much further do things break down, the interaction of these items. You know, because literally we couldn't verify or prove anything directly at that point. I don't, yeah, I don't think there was the electron microscope. There might have been microscopes, but nothing that would get down to the atomic level. But it was Planck taking an interest that would really put it in the spotlight. Due to his laudatory comments and the experiments that gradually confirmed his theories, Einstein would be invited to lecture at the international meetings such as the Solvay conferences, and would rise rapidly in the academic world. So yeah, Max Planck, very important in bringing notice to Einstein. Planck in himself, big name, as it said already, most influential physicist of his particular generation, Planck's. So he was one of the forethinkers. You could almost kind of look at it like the way Neil deGrasse Tyson refers to Carl Sagan, meeting him, the influences and everything. So yeah, one of the bigger minds in their fields, helping the other next big minds in the fields. Yeah. But yeah. Let's see. We talked about him winning the Nobel Prize, the Nazis and everything. December 1932, so right on the edge of 33, he decided to leave Germany forever, never going back. Because he clearly thought his life was in danger, which it was with what the Nazis would further show. This was before the actual World War II had even broken out. 32? Yeah. The signs were there. The signs were there. Yeah. In 1938 to 39, Otto Hahn, Fritz Strassmann, Lisa Meitner, and Otto Frisch showed the vast amounts of energy that could be unleashed by splitting the uranium atom. So yeah, this would bring forth the use or the creation of an atomic bomb. It was in July 1939. Physicist Leo Szilard convinced Einstein that he should send a letter to FDR, President Roosevelt, to try to develop an atomic bomb. Because again, there's such fears that the Nazis were already developing one. Um, mm, Einstein himself could only do the thought experiments. But he's like, the energy it could release could be immense. Serious damage and everything. So huh. The physics community split on the question of whether to build a hydrogen bomb, an atomic bomb splitting a hydrogen atom. Oppenheimer, director of the atomic bomb project, was stripped of his security clearance for having suspected leftist associations. Einstein would back Oppenheimer and oppose the development of the hydrogen bomb, instead calling for international controls on the spread of nuclear technology. And would become increasingly anti-war and more civil rights. Um, but they talk about a number of his theories and everything. But yeah, Einstein, a lot of personal strife and issues, but vastly brilliant. Princeton, New Jersey. I guess it was for the University of Princeton. I know they kept saying the Institute of something something. But yeah. Look at all the little things he's known for here. He got general relativity, special relativity, photoelectric effect. E equals mc squared. E equals hf. Theory of Brownian motion, Einstein field equations, Bose-Einstein statistics, Bose-Einstein condensate, gravitational waves, cosmological constants, unified field theory, EPR, paradox, and ensemble interpretation. But yeah, 3 kids, 2 wives. Clip of Einstein's voice from April 11th, 1943.
Ladies and gentlemen, our age is proud of the progress it has made in man's intellectual development, the search and striving for truth and knowledge.
I'll go ahead and stop it there, but we just wanted to hear a bit of what he actually sounded like. It's always interesting. His parents were secular Ashkenazi Jews. But yeah. Moved to Munich in 1880. Einstein himself was born in 1879 in Ulm, but spent a lot of time in Munich. In the southeast. But yeah, Albert Einstein, intelligent, driven, really one of the greatest minds we've had in history. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end this episode here. It's been a long one already, but this gives us a good look at who Einstein was. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting these links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.